Hello, this is Dr. Jimmy, and it's still July 2nd, and I'm still quite insane, but I'm going to resume now what I should have done a long time ago, my history of Halloween Horror Nights 25. This will be the 5th video in that history, and most likely not the last, but I want to get the history of Halloween Horror Nights 25 and then 26 done before the future HHN becomes the present, which will be in only 75 days. So I need to get a move on. Where did I leave off? It was like nearly a month ago, in early May, when I did my previous video. I think it was around the Cinco de Mayo when I did the last one. Oh my God. So part 5 will pick up. I believe I was talking about the third haunted house of the event, Freddy versus Jason. Yes. Hang on. Be right back. I just had a devious idea. Oh, sorry about that. I should have thought of it before I started, and I've already done a couple of different false starts on this video, and I don't want to do it over again and again and again because there are other things to do this night. Anyway, I believe in my talking about Freddy versus Jason, I got into a sort of history on the character of Jason Voorhees himself. And not to reiterate everything, but I mentioned how in the first film, Friday the 13th, released in the summer of 1980, he wasn't really even in the movie, just in flashbacks and dream sequences. Hardly the fierce thing that he became. He was a child, seriously challenged child with some mental and physical disabilities, who never should have been allowed to go swimming on his own. He should have been watched. He should have been watched carefully by the camp counsellors. And there was a terrible accident, and of course his mother went completely out of her head. Who wouldn't? The poor thing. And she had to teach those camp counsellors the proper way of watching children, which they wouldn't be able to do anymore after she was through with them because she chopped them into little nasty pieces. Yes, retaliating for their negligence. In part 2, which came out the very next summer, 1981, the poor film got chopped up quite a bit because, well, I won't get into that, but there were some issues at that time. But we found out she shouldn't have frickin' bothered with all the revenge she had in the first movie, because Jason wasn't even dead. I don't know why he was still living out in the woods and grew to manhood by himself in the woods all those years since Mother Voorhees thought her little boy had drowned. I can only surmise that he thought she'd be mad at him for swimming on his own and nearly drowning, and then he was afraid she might punish him for being a naughty little boy and going swimming without any supervision, and so he ran away and hid. And then, of course, he saw what his mother did to those camp counselors, and that, oh my goodness, she punished them. I'm not going to do it. So maybe he was hiding, although we know Jason loves his mummy. So for some reason, he never told her. Perhaps he thought she would think less of him or something. And when he finally got the nerve to go back home, at least that's my guess, because he was out in the woods all the time, he gets there just in time to see her get her head lopped off by the final girl in the first film. So, now he has to seek revenge for his mum's death and to carry on in her proud tradition of, going after naughty camp counselors. And that movie wore a bag on his head like the Elephant Man. And under the bag, did he look anything like the child in the first movie grown up? No. And he had this weird hair on half of his head and long shaggy beard on one half of his face. The other half was like grotesque. It wasn't at all what you'd expect Jason to look like under the Elephant Man mask he was wearing in that movie. So part 3 comes out the following summer, I believe, 1982. And it's in 3D! Woohoo! Wow! And it's 3D. How exciting. Yes. Are these 3D glasses? No, these are, I can't see a fucking thing, I'm blind glasses. Put those back. That's not. Those are 3D. Oh my goodness. In that movie, he puts on the iconic hockey mask for the first time and becomes visually the Jason we all know and love today. Hockey mask, machete, hooking and slaughtering. And I want to especially point out that in these early movies, Jason is mortal. Now, he gets pitchforked in one movie, he gets hit in the head with an axe, he gets hung for a bit, shot several times, recuperating. It's not because he's some kind of Wolverine, Wolverine or Deadpool type who can healing factor. No, he's not a mutant. He doesn't have to go join Professor Xavier's school for gifted adolescent swine. No, he's perfectly normal human, but he's tough. He's got, it's not, mutant healing factor. It's not supernatural powers. No. It's not, he's not cursed or anything yet. At this point in Jason's career, he's just resilient. Yeah, let's say he's really resilient. I mean, he's not Superman. Bullets don't bounce off; they do go in and make blood come out. He's not, maybe a bit like the Tick, not invulnerable, nigh invulnerable. You ever try to squish a tick? Ew, it doesn't work, especially if they're hard shelled. You can't get it. Sort of like, I'm not quite sure how to best describe it. He's got high endurance levels, low pain threshold. No, high. He's got a pain threshold that he can take a lot of pain. Which is the high when you can take, or low when you? I guess high pain threshold is where your pain. I don't remember which way the scale goes, so fuck that. But he's got a pain threshold that he can take a lot. He's used to the abuse. I don't know. He can deal with it. He recovers quickly, very quickly, and so you think you've got him, but you haven't. It's just a matter of being, more durable. But he's not really magic or science fiction alien or anything like that. Now, Part 4 did not come out in 1993. When the whole year was out, and Paramount had been getting all kinds of shit, mainly from Siskel and Ebert, two film critics who, back then, they didn't have an internet, so you couldn't attack people on Twitter or anything like that. It took a little bit more time. They had a letter writing camp. You actually had to write, the letter and put it in an envelope and lick it and put a stamp on it, put it in the post box and put the little flag up, and your mailman comes and picks it up, and it goes through the whole postal delivery service process, and maybe it's a couple weeks before it gets to Hollywood and lands on Michael Eisner's desk saying, "You're evil for making these movies." Michael Eisner? Yeah, he was the head producer, the head of Paramount at the time, before he got to Disney. And he's looking to move to Disney, right? He doesn't want any kind of negative shit on his resume. I made all those Jason movies. No, he doesn't want that, because the people hiring at Disney are going to say, do we want the guy who made all the Jason movies running our happy magical home? Maybe not. Well, he put stuff on his resume. ABC television cartoon shows. I produced. Oh yeah, I produced wonderful stuff like, what was some of the wonderful family-friendly cartoons they had in the early 70s. Schoolhouse Rock. That was one big thing he put on his resume. You bet. Now, granted, the people who made the movie, directors, the creatives who made the movie, are people like Steve Miner and Sean Cunningham, and they, low budget, filming in New Jersey or someplace. All Paramount really did was distribute them, but they were on the list. Eisner was like #1 on the list, producer at Paramount, the executive, whatever. I guess he was like the head of the studio. He was on the list. Siskel and Ebert said these movies were evil. They never should have been made. They're about violence against women. They're just anti-women movies, which is like horseshit, because Friday the 13th did not fit the formula they talked about, which was, a guy is spurned by women, he hates women, he's a misogynist, you see him killing all these women when they're acting independent, and then, maybe he doesn't even die but goes away at the end, and you see his point of view shots from the camera from his angle, so you identify with the killer when he's killing women, so that you and the audience, the guys, go, yeah, get her, yeah, punish those women. There were maybe 1 or 2 movies with that formula. I think there was one called I think He Knows You're Alone, but most of them didn't fit that. In fact, that was made after they said all that shit. So maybe the people who made that movie just made what Siskel and Ebert were saying, thinking it might sell. But most of the films they attacked didn't fit that, and Friday the 13th didn't fit that at all. First of all, Killer was a woman. Killer was a woman killing camp counselors of either gender because she was mad about her kid getting killed. Nothing to do with hatred of women. She didn't hate women, she hated camp counselors. If you do a body count, more men than women are killed in the movie. And that's true for most of these Friday the 13th movies. And men get the more violent demises. Remember the most spectacular death we saw on Friday the 13th? Kevin Bacon getting arrow through his neck. It's like, people saw that, it's like, holy fuck, they actually killed someone for this movie. People thought it was a frickin' stuff movie because they couldn't understand how that could be a special effect. And of course we know Kevin Bacon made a bazillion movies after that, and that everybody on Earth is connected to Kevin Bacon by 6 degrees. So obviously he survived, but and of course he had to survive or we couldn't hear it for the boy, right? And was that the right movie? I don't know, maybe that was Flashdance. No, I thought it was Footloose. I think it's Footloose. Anyway, you gotta cut loose, right? Footloose. Kick up your Sunday shoes. So, yeah, he survived to do all these things. And Kevin Bacon in a blue Speedo. That's the part of Friday the 13th that impacted me quite a lot as my little 17-year-old boy watching that going, because that was what hit me the hardest. And then someone said, yeah, there were girls with tits in that movie. What girls? What tits? There was a blue Speedo. But yeah, I kind of went off on a tangent. No, I actually went off on several tangents. Now I have to get back to the tangent before this one. So Mrs. Voorhees, yeah, she was killing. She wasn't. It didn't fit the formula they're talking about in any way whatsoever. So they were completely wrong when they attacked this movie on this basis, and they wanted people to send letters to Betsy Palmer for playing Mrs. Voorhees, saying, shame on you, you shouldn't be making these kind of movies. And it never should have been made, never should have been released. That's the kind of shit they were saying and sending hate mail. And by 1983, they've been getting a shitload of hate mail because by then the letter campaign was starting to go. That's why Friday the 13th Part 2 had been cut so badly by the MPAA because of the same thing. They said, oh my God, you have to take all the violence out of this movie. Bad publicity, bad publicity. So they're having all kinds of trouble, and they're thinking, maybe we should get rid of Jason. So 83 didn't make a movie, but 84 they did. And they thought they're going to end it once and for all. Besides, if we don't end it, it's just going to keep going and it'll get worse. Let's just kill Jason and end the whole thing in one last hurrah. And so they made the movie Friday the 13th, the final chapter. They didn't call it part 4, the final chapter. And that one, Jason was kind of at his peak as a mortal, as a human, irregular. And interestingly enough, amongst the people he's after, there's little Tommy Jarvis. Now, Tommy Jarvis does not fit the profile of a Jason victim. He's a little boy. He's not out screwing with other kids, and literally, he's not out having sex and drugs and rock and roll. He's a child. Jason has never actually tried to kill a child, except going after Jarvis, but he couldn't ever do it, because that's not right. His whole reason for existing is to protect children from the negligence of camp counselors, sort of. He's really pro-kid in a way. He's not out to kill small children. So, even though he goes after him a couple of times, he's not going to take the machete and hack him up. In fact, looking at the boy, he feels the connection, and Jarvis knows this, and he uses that against Jason. And that's when he takes the machete himself and kills Jason Voorhees. He kills Jason Voorhees. Corey fucking Feldman killed Jason Voorhees. Yeah, when he was still dating Michael Jackson and he's a little kid. That's rude. Corey, he slams the machete, goes all the way through his frickin' out the back end of his head. They make him, you know, like the Wicked Witch, well and truly dead. He's actually dead. The one time he is really, truly dead. And now he's dead. No more Jason, apparently. So that was it. But they forgot about something, even though Eisner got ready to go take over Walt Disney, and the letter campaign started dying down. These movies made a hell of a lot of money for very little. You know, they didn't cost much to make, and they made a whole lot of box office. It would be fucking stupid not to continue making money, and this was their brand. The people at Paramount said, maybe we shouldn't have killed Jace. This one made so much money. How do we do another Friday the 13th movie? No, we can't. But well, if we don't, other horror movies are coming out now, and they're starting to make money. You know, this competitor, this Freddy guy started showing up around this time. We've got to come up with something. And so they did. They made Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning, and Jason wasn't in it. So I don't even need to talk about that one. It wasn't actually Jason, it was a fake Jason. Tommy Jarvis, teenager. There's a guy pretending to be Jason. Turns out in the movie it's not Jason. Forget that movie. He's not even in it. There's no character development here. So I'm talking about Jason Voorhees, right? How his character developed. So we didn't see Jason again until 1986, when they had a film called Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives. And this is a pivotal film in the legend of Jason Voorhees, in the story of the man, how he becomes the creature we all know and love today. Because this is where he rises from the dead. He's been dead, apparently, for a long time, enough time for Tommy Jarvis to be a little brat Corey Feldman, to grow up to be the guy that was in Return of the Living Dead, and found out he was a zombie and started trying to get his girlfriend's brains because they were so spicy. Remember the guy in that movie? Big, hulking, masculine fellow. Now, hardly what Corey... We all know what Corey Feldman looked like when he grew up. He didn't look like that. Hair changed color, everything. Goes from Jewish to Gentile. I mean, a completely different person. But this Tommy Jarvis... and they call it Forest Green now instead of something, instead of Crystal Lake. So he goes back. He can't get it out of his mind about Jason. Stupid Tommy Jarvis. People in horror movies are not known to make good decisions. So he thinks because he's having nightmares, in order to deal with this, he should go dig fucking Jason up and, like, stab the dead body, which has been rotting in the grave for perhaps, you know, what is he? He's probably close to 10 years now, maybe longer, depending on how old he's supposed to be, 17, 18. He looks like he's 24, but he's probably let's just say roughly 10 years or 7 to 8, 9, 10 years, whatever it is. Guy's been a mouldering corpse all these years. Everything's quiet. No one's been murdered. Everything's nice. No, he has to dig Jason up and then take, a big metal spear and stab the body, thinking that's the way to quell his demons. Hello? Dumbass. He's in the grave. He's dead. He's rotting. Go see a nice psychiatrist. Better yet, drink heavily. That solves lots of problems. But if you don't want to do that because it's not healthy, there's other perhaps things you could do to mellow yourself out. There's all sorts of things that Tommy Jarvis could have done other than dig Jason up during a thunderstorm, lightning going about, and impaling the dead body with a metal spike. Oh, damn, I never thought of that. It conducts electricity and there's lightning. Uh-oh. I've seen Frankenstein. Oh, shit. I just fucked up really bad. And yes, he did. Guess who pops up and says, "Roar"? It's Jason Voorhees, just Pamela's little boy, Jason. Now he's back from the dead. Now he is a supernatural entity. From this point forward, it's no longer just a very durable dude who is kind of hard to kill, but can be eventually killed if the right little boy sticks a machete through his head. into an actual undead, back from the dead, zombie-like creature who seems to not only be back from the dead, but have some regenerative abilities, because he seems to heal from wounds even faster than when he'd been alive, even though he's rotting and all that. So now we have the Jason we fully developed creature. Now, the other films after that were released, I don't have to go into them because, after all, we finally got to the Jason of that they developed. From a little boy who drowned in the lake, maybe, all the way up to this creature from beyond the grave, Jason. The remaining films they made at Paramount, which are part 7, 8, 2 of them. One, he meets a Carrie-like girl with telekinetic powers, and in the other one, he goes to Manhattan, turns back into a little kid somehow for a while through some sorcery, but and then supposedly is dissolved in toxic waste. But we all know that's not going to happen. Later on, New Line Cinema got bought. Paramount stopped making them after 1988. New Line Cinema got Jason, and they didn't buy the name Friday the 13th, because Paramount was making a TV show called Friday the 13th, and they thought we can still use this name. So they only sold the character. So New Line has the character. That's why all the movies they've had since then, at least for a while, were called Jason Goes to Hell, or Jason X, or is it Jason 10? Same thing, because it was 9 and 10 in the series, right? So it actually was Jason 10 or Jason X, however you want to think about it. And both of these movies are kind of wild. One that goes totally supernatural and retcons the story about demons, that maybe Mrs. Voorhees was worshipping demons from, of all things, the book of the Necronomicon from Evil Dead or something, because that was there. Or maybe, and the other one's set in the future, science fiction, Jason, outer space, and all kinds of crazy shit, which hasn't happened yet. So Jason hasn't gone to outer space yet. That's the future. All of that's crazy shit, and we don't have to worry about those movies because they didn't change the character too much, except in Jason Goes to Hell, apparently he is forced down into the underworld by demons at the end of the movie. Crazy shit. Now, hearts, Jason would possess people by eating their hearts or something. I forget what all it was. Crazy stuff. So he's like jumping from body to body after, and then in his soul finally goes to, and then he has to be reborn out of another woman's vagina, crawls out as an adult. And I mean, it's crazy, crazy horseshit. It totally is nothing like the character in any previous movie. And, but he goes to hell, and the important thing about is the final scene of Jason Goes to Hell, because after he supposedly has been sent to hell by these powers, his hockey mask is lying on the ground, and Freddy's glove comes out from the ground and grabs the mask and pulls it underneath the earth. Because they were teasing the possibility that Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees might get together someday, because New Line Cinema controlled Jason now, and they already had Freddy Krueger. So that was a tease. And that was way back in the 90s, and it would be, oh God, years and years, I think nearly 10 years, 12 years before it finally, the early 21st century, they finally made Freddy vs. Jason. Now, in the Friday the 13th movies, it always starts to get dark and there's a storm and then Jason comes. I'm getting scared. But I'm not having any alcohol. I'm drinking Mellow Yellow Zero. I'm not doing drugs. No. I'm not having premarital sex because I'm already married and my spouse isn't here. Furthermore, I'm just at home making silly videos, and there should be a cat, so the cat is looking outside the window at the storm, maybe. Let me see if I can do this without causing trouble. There's Lenny over there, right over there, looking out the window. I'm not sure what she's... Actually, her intent, I think she sees something other than rain. I think she sees a bird or a squirrel or something out there that's exciting her. I don't know why the animal isn't getting out of there because the storm's coming. But whatever it is, oh, it's a lizard. I see it running, and she sees it running too. There is a lizard outside, and that's exciting her. Because you must realize, the most sweet, fluffy, cuddly little pussy-wussy kitty, meow meow, is, of course, a ferocious predator. At heart. Yes. All right. Now, so I pretty much covered the character of Jason Voorhees and who he is. So equal time, hopefully not as much time, we need to talk about Mr. Frederick Krueger. And how did he come to be? Where did he come from? Who is he? And that's at New Line Cinema. And Wes Craven makes the movie back in 1984, A Nightmare on Elm Street. In A Nightmare on Elm Street, we have the whole story. He had been working as a caretaker or what handyman, you know, janitor, whatever, at a school, whoever he was. Children had gone missing in Elm Street, and turns out he was taking them to a boiler room and doing depraved, awful things. He was a vile child predator, and he was arrested, locked up after some kids had been killed, but he was let go on a technicality. I may have to speak up because there's, like the B-52s, tin roof, rusted, and when it rains, it gets loud in here. And I may have to cut the video shorter than I wanted to, but essentially, Mr. Krueger was apprehended after some kids had been killed, and he was going to go to prison for a very, very long time. And depending on what state he was in, where the hell was Springfield? Is it in Illinois? No, Haddonfield's in Illinois. I think Springfield is in Ohio. Lord, it's getting really loud. Ohio! I don't think they had the death penalty in Ohio in 1984. They might have. Oh, wait a minute. In Cary, Ohio, they had an electric chair. Wrong house. But it seems to me, whatever the case might be, there was a technicality. Somebody fucked up. Miranda rights weren't read or something, and he got let loose. And it's always been implied that John Saxon, you know, Nancy's dad, was the arresting officer, and he might have fucked up the arrest. Maybe that's why he feels so guilty about the whole thing. Hadn't thought of that before, but yeah, it's true, it could very well be. It's not explicitly stated, but that suggests why Freddy really hates that man, or hates his kids, or his wife. What's going on there? Well, Freddy gets loose, he's let go, the parents take the law in their own hands, vigilante justice, they lynch him, they murder him, they burn him alive, apparently, or something nasty, and he's thrown into his body is burnt in the furnace, and for some perverted reason, Heather Lab, Nancy's mother, decides to keep Freddy's hat and glove. What, is she going to, do something sexual? Is it a fetish? I don't know. Why is she keeping that? Shouldn't she throw it away? I guess it's evidence, but why would you keep it? Shouldn't you destroy it? It's not that hard to destroy an old fedora and a little leather glove. The metal bits, might bury them somewhere, but they're just metal bits after you burn the leather. I don't know why she kept it. She kept it, the crazy person. Of course, Freddy comes back from the beyond as a demon creature that can haunt the dreams and nightmares of the little children who are now teenagers, and starts killing them, and we'll learn in later movies that he gets psychic energy from everyone he claims. Although in this first movie it suggested his motive is revenge on the parents who killed him. Eventually Nancy figures it out. Johnny Depp, when he was really young, his first ever movie, gets sucked into his bed, blood goes upon the ceiling, it's quite in slow motion, quite spectacularly. And the movie ends really weirdly. What actually happened? Did she beat Freddy or didn't she? Because he takes her mum out through the door at the end. I don't know. It's sort of like a nightmare. Kind of dream surrealistic. But we'll continue with Freddy Krueger in part 6. And maybe I'll finally get to the house. But I can't go any further even if I had time because lightning's going to strike and knock out my computer. So I have to turn it off for a bit.